All right, we'll begin with more from South Africa. The Africa edition of the World Economic Forum is underway in Cape Town, and political leaders and business leaders have gathered at the time that South Africa is struggling to deal with xenophobic attacks on foreign-owned businesses. Many shops and business premises belonging to other African nationals are said to have been destroyed. Cars and properties were torched amidst widespread looting. We will delve into that discussion a bit, but I want us to first listen to Thapelo Madumani, who is the Deputy High Commissioner to Ghana, responding to some of the pictures that we have seen from his country.
The High Commission is aware of reports that are making rounds with regard to what our government position or what this High Commission is saying. There are reports to the extent that we are saying African governments must create jobs in their own countries so as to make sure that their citizens do not go to South Africa. That is a misunderstanding of the statement of the High Commissioner. Most of the time when she engages with the media or with her visitors and all that, she talks about a need to create employment wherever we are. The High Commissioner was the Minister of Agriculture. She was a Minister of Women and people with disabilities and all that. And she sometimes, or most of the time, approached this thing looking at the most vulnerable in the community. So what she was talking about was like the policies that you have here, you're planting and rearing for food and jobs. What does that do? It creates jobs, and it creates jobs where in the rural area, and as such, it stops migration. We have some small industrial development policies, so she was attesting to that. Not that government should make jobs and so that their people should not go to South Africa. South Africa will continue to need skilled labor. We are part of the African community.
The Deputy South African High Commissioner to Ghana there earlier addressing the press on reports that the High Commissioner herself had said that people were migrating to South Africa because of the lack of jobs in their countries, and the reports were that she was urging other African countries to create jobs for their people so they don't migrate to South Africa. But we know South Africa itself is struggling. The economy is not in good shape. They escaped recession recently. So how is what we are seeing in South Africa reflective of the state of the economy of that country? Joining me in studio is my colleague, Joy Business Analyst Philip Namfori. And like I was pointing out, Philip, South Africa is struggling. What do we know about the state of that country's economy?
Darryl, thank you very much. South Africa has come a long way in terms of its development. As Africa's most industrialized economy, it points to the fact that they had certain things right. And I remember Professor Abo, former Dean of the University of Ghana Business School, in one of my classes during my master's, told me that South Africa dwelled heavily on research. And that's how come they have a wide industrial base and they are a very competitive country. But in the past, there have been a number of issues which are similar to what we've witnessed in our country, Ghana. The debt situation in South Africa has ballooned. Why? Inefficiencies of some of the state-owned institutions, as one example. Two, Eskom, their utility provider. You know, they have the 3-in-1. Ours is broken down to 3. It was performing so poorly. That poor performance brought a crippling power crisis, which affects the fortunes of the private sector. Apart from that, other things also happened. You know, there was a drought at some point, which also affected the fortunes of the agricultural sector. So you have a multiplicity of issues. And one thing that also affected them, corruption. You know, there was all these issues with Jacob Zuma, these Gupta brothers and all that. So the mix of issues on South Africa had an effect on its economy. But good thing here is that in recent months, I remember I watched something on Bloomberg where the SARB, that's the South African Reserve Bank, akin to our central bank, the governor was saying that the economy has rebounded. He's having a positive outlook on growth on the economy. So they've come from a struggling place. But recent data, the missing of the recession, the rebound in their economic growth, points to the fact that if all is sustained, then South Africa can come out of this quagmire. President Ramaphosa was saying he wants to attract about 100 billion in terms of private investment into South Africa. And that therein lies the dilemma. How do you attract this investment in the country with the current ongoings in there? Because private investors are looking for money. They're not looking for anything else. And you need to have a stable political environment, social environment to attract these.
I guess that was the reason why they opened up the country. You know, they introduced this free visa policy for business people and all of that so that they can have some investments coming into the country. Yeah,
very, very right. And before I continue, I prepared just a brief infographic of a number of things that are going on in South Africa right there. And like I said, the Eskom situation, look at their GDP, 349 billion in 2017, according to the World Bank. But things have started picking up in the economy. Back to what you were saying. Opening up your economy has good sides and bad sides. The world has become a global village. Look at what's happening between US and China. The world is for trade, it's for investment. How do we do this? At the same time, ensure that the livelihoods of people within our country are preserved. Look at what happens in our country, Ghana. We're always pushing for local content. The issues of the locals in South Africa is a tough call, but it's up to the government of South Africa to ensure that their concerns are assuaged. At the same time, opening up the economy for private investment, which is measured so that everybody feels included in the process.
Okay, quick one. We're running out of time on this one. So they are trying to attract more investors into the country, but there are also local businesses that may be struggling. So is the answer kicking out these foreigners as the citizens would want done?
Darryl, I don't think, I can't speak for South Africa, but from a business analytical perspective, opening up your borders, if with the right controls, everybody can be included in this process and everybody gets to benefits. There will always be deficiencies in the system. One may gain more than the other, but if it's done properly, I think everybody stands to benefit.
All right. Thank you, Philip Namfori, there with that analysis on the situation as you're seeing on your screen right now in South Africa. He'll be coming back later in the evening with the business edition of PM Express. He'll be talking about the fines that were dished out to 4 accounting firms. You want to stay around for that. That is at 9 p.m. later today.